Now, the history of North Korea began at the end of World War II in 1945. The surrender of Japan led to the division of Korea at the 38th parallel, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States occupying the south. The Soviet Union and the United States failed to agree on a way to unify the country, and in 1948 they established two separate governments, the Soviet-aligned Democratic People's Republic of Korea and the American-aligned Republic of Korea, each claiming to be the legitimate government of all Korea. In 1950, the Korean War broke out. After much destruction, the war ended with a stalemate. The division at the 38th parallel was replaced by the Korean Demilitarized Zone. Tension between two sides continued. Out of the rubble, North Korea built an industrialized command economy. Kim Il-sung, leader of North Korea at the time, began gradually consolidating his power. Up to this time, North Korean politics were represented by four factions: the Yan'an faction, made up of the returnees from China, the Soviet Koreans, who were ethnic Koreans from the USSR, native Korean communists led by Pak Hong-yong, and Kim's Kapsan group, who had fought guerrilla actions against Japan in the 1930s. When the Workers' Party Central Committee plenum opened on 30th of August 1953, Chloe Chang-ik made a speech attacking Kim, concentrating the power of the party and the state in his own hands, as well as criticizing the party line on how industrialization, which ignored widespread starvation among the North Korean people. However, Kim neutralized the attack on him by promising to moderate the regime, promises which were never kept. The majority in the Central Committee voted to support Kim and also voted in favour of expelling Cho and Pak Hong-yong from the Central Committee. 11 of Kim's opponents were convicted in a show trial. It is believed that all were executed. A major purge of the KWP followed, with members originating from South Korea being expelled. Pak Hong-yong, party vice chairman and foreign minister of the DPRK, was blamed for the failure of the southern population to support North Korea during the war, was dismissed from his positions in 1953, and was executed after a show trial in 1950. Now I hear you asking, how did North Korea bring themselves out of war reparations? Well, here is the reconstruction of the country after the war. Although developmental debates took place within the Workers' Party of Korea in the 1950s, North Korea, like all post-war communist states, undertook massive state investment in heavy industry, state infrastructure and military strength, neglecting the production of consumer goods. The first three-year plan from 1954 to 1956 introduced the concept of juche, or self-reliance. The first 5-year plan, 1957 to 1961, consolidated the collectivization of agriculture and initiated mass mobilizations campaigns. The Kolyma movement, the Chongsan-ni system in agriculture and Taean work system in industry. The Kolyma movement was influenced by China's Great Leap Forward, but did not have its disastrous result. Industry was fully nationalized by 1959. Taxation on agricultural income was abolished in 1966. North Korea was placed on a semi-war footing, with equal emphasis being given to the civilian and military economies. This was expressed in the 1962 party plenum by the slogan "Arms in one hand and hammer and sickle in the other." At a special party conference in 1966, members of the leadership who opposed the military build-up were indefinitely removed. On the ruins left by the war, North Korea had built an industrialized command economy. The regime reached out to the Third World in hope of developing strong trade relations. Che Guevara, then a Cuban government minister, visited North Korea in 1960 and proclaimed it a model for Cuba to follow. In 1965, the British economist Joan Robinson described North Korea's economic development as a miracle. As late as the 1970s, its GDP per capita was estimated to be equivalent of South Korea's. By 1968, all homes had electricity, though the supply was unreliable, and by 1972, all children from age 5 to 16 were enrolled in school, and over 200 universities and specialized colleges had been established. By the early 1980s, 60 to 70% of the population was urbanized. Kim Il-sung died from a sudden heart attack on the 8th of July 1994. The politics in the last years of Kim Il-sung closely resemble those of the beginning of Kim Jong-il's era. Beginning as early as 1990, the economy began a steep decline. From 1990 to 1995, foreign trade was cut in half, with the loss of the subsidized Soviet oil being particularly keenly felt. The crisis came to a head in 1995 with the widespread flooding that destroyed crops and infrastructure, leading to a famine that lasted until 1998. At the same time, there appeared to be little significant internal opposition to the regime. A great many of the North Koreans fleeing to China because of famine still showed significant support for the government, as well as pride in their homeland. Many of these people reportedly returning to North Korea after earning sufficient money. In September 1998, Kim Il-sung was proclaimed eternal president of the republic, with the office of the presidency being abolished, according to Ashley J. Tellis and Michael Wills. This amendment was an indication of unique North Korean characteristic of being a theatric state based on the personality cult surrounding Kim Il-sung, granting leaders titles with legal power after their death. The functions and powers previously belonging to the president were divided between three officials, exercising his power through his militaristic posts, which he essentially controlled even whilst his father was still alive, and with his elevation to the Supreme Commander of the KPA and Chairman of the NDC in the early 90s, Kim Jong-il placed emphasis on the military to boast and elevate his power, and in addition to this, after the collapse of the global communism in the early 1990s and the economic crisis and mass famine that continued, North Korea found itself in a very precarious international position. In this sense, Songun is perceived as an aggressive, threatening move to increase the strength of North Korean military at the expense of other parts of society. In 1998, the government had announced a new policy called Songun, or Military First. In essence, Songun politics gives great priority to military affairs and ensuring the Korean People's Army, KPA, as the main force in construction and development. After his election in 1998, President Kim Dae-jung of South Korea actively attempted to reduce tensions between the two Koreas under the Sunshine Policy. After the election of George W. Bush as President of the United States in 2000, North Korea faced renewed pressure over its nuclear program. On October 9, 2006, North Korea announced that it had successfully detonated a nuclear bomb underground. Additionally, North Korea was developing ICBM. On the 13th of February 2007, North Korea signed an agreement with South Korea, the United States, Russia, China and Japan, which stipulated North Korea would shut down its Yongbyon nuclear reactor in exchange for economic and energy assistance. However, in 2009, the North continued its nuclear test program. In 2010, the sinking of a South Korean naval ship, the Cheongan, allegedly by North Korean torpedoes, and North Korea's shelling on the Yeonpyeong Island escalated tensions between North and South Korea. Kim Jong-il died on the 17th of December 2011 and was succeeded by his son Kim Jong-un. In late 2013, Kim Jong-un's uncle Sang Yong-taek was arrested and executed after a trial. According to the South Korean spy agency, Kim may have purged some 300 people after taking power. In 2014, the United Nations Commission of Inquiry accused the governments of crimes against humanity. In 2015, North Korea adopted Pyongyang Standard Time, UTC 8:30, reversing the change to Japan Standard Time, UTC 9, which had been imposed by the Japanese Empire when it annexed Korea. As a result, North Korea was in a different time zone to South Korea. In 2016, 7th Congress of the Workers' Party of Korea was held in Pyongyang, first party congress since 1980. On the 30th of October 2015, the Politburo of the Central Committee of Workers' Party of Korea announced through the Korean Central News Agency that it had decided to convene the 7th Congress of the Workers' Party in early May 2016. In May 2016, North Korea held the 7th Congress of the WPK, first gathering of its kind in over 35 years, by revealing the 5-year National Economic Development Strategy. The Midterm Economic Development Plan was announced for the first time in 24 years. In 2017, North Korea tested the Hwasong-15, an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of striking anywhere in the United States of America. Estimates of North Korea's nuclear arsenal at the time ranged between 15 and 60 bombs, probably including hydrogen bombs. In February 2018, North Korea sent an unprecedented high-level delegation to the Winter Olympics in South Korea, headed by Kim Yo-jong, sister of Kim Jong-un, and President Kim Jong-nam, which passed an invitation to South Korean President Moon to visit the North. In April, the two Korean leaders met at the Joint Security Area, where they announced their governments would work towards a denuclearized Korean peninsula and formalize peace between the two states. North Korea announced it would change its time zone to realign with the South. On the 12th of June 2018, Kim met American President Donald Trump at a summit in Singapore and signed a declaration, again affirming a commitment to peace and denuclearization. Trump announced that they would halt military exercises in South Korea and foreshadowed withdrawing American troops entirely. In September, South Korean President Moon visited Pyongyang for a summit with Kim. In February 2019 in Hanoi, Vietnam, a second summit between Kim and Trump broke down without an agreement. On the 30th of June 2019, Trump, Moon and Kim met at the demilitarized zone. Talks in Stockholm began in October between US and North Korean negotiating teams, but broke down after one day. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the inception of North Korea from then to today. So I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Stay wonderful.